Have you ever felt that despite years of spiritual practice, something fundamental is still missing in your connection with the divine? That elusive sense that there's a deeper truth waiting to be discovered behind Jesus' most powerful declarations. Today, we're going to explore what happens within you when you truly grasp why Jesus proclaimed, "I am the light of the world," and why this understanding changes everything. This isn't just another theological discussion or biblical interpretation. What I'm about to share with you strikes at the very core of how you experience your spiritual identity and transforms your relationship with the divine from the inside out. When fully understood, this revelation has the power to dissolve the invisible barrier that may have been blocking your spiritual breakthrough for years. Has this ever happened to you? You sit down to pray, desperately seeking guidance or healing, only to feel like your words are dissipating into empty space. You follow all the right spiritual practices, yet still feel a persistent separation between yourself and the divine presence you're seeking to connect with. There's a profound reason for this disconnect, and it's hidden within Jesus' revolutionary declaration about light. When Jesus stated, "I am the light of the world," he wasn't speaking metaphorically or making some lofty religious claim meant to elevate himself above humanity. He was revealing a fundamental truth about the nature of consciousness itself, a truth that applies not just to him, but potentially to all of us. What if this statement wasn't about establishing his divinity in opposition to our humanity, but rather illuminating something about our shared spiritual essence that has been misunderstood for centuries? Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might completely reshape how you understand your place in the spiritual cosmos. The revelation behind Jesus' words transcends religious boundaries and speaks to the very heart of what it means to be spiritually awakened in any tradition. Most of us have been conditioned to approach our spiritual life from a position of fundamental separation, as if we're reaching across a vast chasm trying to connect with something entirely outside ourselves. We've been taught that divine light is something we need to seek, rather than something we might already be intimately connected to at our core. This misunderstanding creates a spiritual journey based on lack, striving, and perpetual seeking, when what Jesus may have been pointing to is something far more immediate and revolutionary. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. What would change in your life if you discovered that the light Jesus spoke of isn't something distant you need to acquire through spiritual effort, but rather a fundamental aspect of your being that's been obscured by layers of conditioning and false beliefs about separation? This understanding turns conventional spirituality on its head and reveals why so many sincere seekers find themselves stuck in patterns of spiritual frustration despite their best efforts. Have you ever found yourself staring at the night sky, surrounded by darkness, and wondered why you feel so disconnected from the divine light that supposedly illuminates our world? This question has haunted spiritual seekers for centuries, and it points directly to one of Jesus' most profound yet misunderstood declarations, "I am the light of the world." But what if I told you that understanding the true meaning behind these words could completely transform your spiritual experience in ways you never imagined possible? Most of us approach our spiritual lives from a place of separation and disconnection. We pray fervently, sometimes desperately, yet often feel like our words are merely echoing in an empty room. Has this ever happened to you? That moment when your deepest prayers seem to hit an invisible ceiling, bouncing back to you unanswered. There's a profound reason for this disconnect, and it lies hidden within Jesus' illuminating declaration. When Jesus proclaimed, "I am the light," he wasn't speaking metaphorically or making some lofty religious claim meant to elevate himself above humanity. He was revealing a fundamental truth about reality itself and about your true identity. This revelation is so transformative that once fully grasped, it changes everything about how you relate to the divine, how you pray, and how you move through life's challenges. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to discover might completely reshape how you understand your place in the cosmos and your relationship with divine light. The truth is, we've been conditioned to see ourselves as separate from divine light, like travelers lost in darkness, desperately searching for a distant beacon. But Jesus was pointing to something far more revolutionary, a recognition so profound that it dissolves the very foundation of spiritual struggle. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. What makes Jesus' approach to spirituality so radical is that he never positioned himself as separate from divine light. Have you noticed that? When you study his words and actions closely, you see someone who spoke with unwavering confidence about his connection to divine source. This wasn't spiritual arrogance. It was the natural expression of someone who fully recognized an eternal truth about the nature of reality. The revolutionary insight Jesus was sharing is that divine light isn't something external we need to search for or earn through spiritual effort. This light isn't distant, separate, or unreachable. What if, all this time, we've been like waves desperately trying to find the ocean, when in reality, we've always been manifestations of that very ocean? What if the disconnect we feel in prayer comes not from divine absence, but from our misunderstanding of our true relationship with divine presence? As we dive deeper into Jesus' illuminating declaration, you'll discover why so many spiritual seekers remain trapped in darkness despite years of devoted practice. The truth that's about to unfold might challenge everything you've been taught about your relationship with the divine, but it also holds the key to a spiritual experience that feels natural, effortless, and profoundly transformative. Think about how we've been conditioned throughout our entire lives. From childhood, most spiritual teachings paint a picture of humanity as fundamentally separated from divine light. This mindset of separation has become so deeply ingrained in our consciousness that we hardly question it anymore. We've internalized the belief that we're spiritual orphans, abandoned in a dark world, desperately calling out to a distant source of light that may or may not respond to our pleas. This conditioning shapes how we approach every aspect of our spiritual journey. We've been taught to bow our heads in submission, to beg for divine intervention, to plead for grace, as if it's something that must be earned or granted by an external authority. Behind the scenes of every religious tradition lies this fundamental assumption that we are here and divine light is somewhere else, beyond a vast, unbridgeable gap. The profound revelation that can transform your entire spiritual experience is recognizing how radically different Jesus' approach was from this mindset of separation. When you truly examine his words and actions with fresh eyes, you witness something revolutionary. Jesus never approached the divine from a place of separation or lack. He never begged, he never pleaded, he never bargained. Instead, he spoke with an unwavering confidence that mystified the religious authorities of his time. "I and the Father are one," he declared. "I am the light of the world." These weren't the words of someone trying to reach across a vast cosmic divide. These were the declarations of someone who fully recognized his oneness with divine source. The hidden truth that religious institutions rarely emphasize is that this wasn't spiritual arrogance or some special dispensation granted only to Jesus. His radical confidence stemmed from his recognition of an eternal truth that has existed since before time began, a truth about the nature of reality itself and about your true identity within that reality. Jesus understood that the mindset of separation is an illusion, perhaps the most powerful illusion ever created. The decisions we make from this illusion create entirely different results than those made from the consciousness of oneness that Jesus embodied. When we operate from separation, we experience life as a constant struggle against forces that seem to oppose us. But when we recognize our oneness with divine light, we experience life as a natural unfolding of that same light expressing through us. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring what actually changes inside you when you begin to grasp what Jesus meant when he declared, "I am the light." The transformation isn't just philosophical or theological, it's practical, tangible, and profoundly impactful in your everyday experience. The journey from separation consciousness to recognition of your oneness with divine light doesn't happen intellectually. It's not about adopting a new belief system or memorizing spiritual concepts. It's an experiential awakening to a reality that has always been present but obscured by conditioned patterns of thinking. If these insights about Jesus's "I am the light" teaching have resonated with your spirit today, hit that subscribe button to join our community of seekers exploring these profound spiritual truths together. If you've ever experienced even a brief moment when you felt completely at one with life, completely at peace, completely illuminated from within, write in the comments, "I've glimpsed the light within," because that momentary experience offers a precious clue to the truth Jesus was revealing about your essential nature. What Jesus understood at the deepest level, and what he was desperately trying to help us understand, is that divine light isn't some external force that we need to reach through years of spiritual effort or perfect religious practice. The revolutionary revelation he was pointing to is that this light is your original nature, your fundamental identity beneath all the accumulated layers of conditioning and false beliefs about separation. It's who you were before the world told you who you should be. Think of it like this. Just as a diamond buried in mud remains a diamond regardless of its covering, your essence as divine light remains unchanged beneath the accumulated dust of separation consciousness. The spiritual journey isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about uncovering what you've always been. This understanding creates a paradigm shift in how you approach every aspect of your life. When you truly begin to grasp what Jesus meant by declaring, "I am the light," a profound transformation occurs. Your prayers shift from desperate pleas to powerful recognition. Your spiritual practice evolves from striving to allowing. Your entire experience changes from struggle into natural, effortless unfolding. Behind the scenes of this inner transformation is a complete recalibration of your relationship with existence itself. The breakthrough understanding is that you are not a cosmic orphan, abandoned in darkness and desperately seeking connection with some distant light. You are the very expression of that light itself, living and breathing through divine inheritance right now in this very moment. This isn't some lofty spiritual theory or philosophical concept. It's the fundamental reality behind your existence, the actual ground of your being. This mindset shift completely revolutionizes how you navigate life's inevitable challenges. Instead of facing difficulties from a place of separation, lack, and limitation, you approach them from the recognition of the divine resources that are already present within your being. The impact of this understanding goes far beyond theory. It creates a tangible shift in how you experience your daily reality. Consider how differently you might approach a challenging situation from these two mindsets. From separation consciousness, you might feel overwhelmed, alone, and resourceless. From the recognition of your oneness with divine light, you approach the same situation with an inner knowing that transcendent wisdom, love, and power are already present within you as your true nature. The journey toward embodying this understanding doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual awakening, a progressive recognition that unfolds as you begin to question the assumptions of separation that have shaped your spiritual experience. Each moment of recognition creates a ripple effect, gradually dissolving the illusion of separation and revealing more of your true nature as divine light expressing in human form. Let me share a powerful metaphor that illuminates this truth in a way that's impossible to forget. Imagine a wave in the vast ocean suddenly developing consciousness and identity. If that wave believed itself to be separate from the ocean, it might spend its entire existence in fear and anxiety, desperately trying to connect with the ocean. Yet the truth is, the wave has never for a single moment been anything other than the ocean itself in wave form. If you've ever had a moment when this ocean metaphor resonated with something deep inside you, type "I am the ocean" in the comments below. This transformational understanding becomes even clearer when we examine another profound statement Jesus made that perfectly aligns with "I am the light." When he proclaimed, "I and my Father are one." Many religious institutions have interpreted this as an exclusive claim, something that set Jesus apart as uniquely divine while the rest of humanity remains in separation. But this interpretation misses the entire revelation Jesus was offering. The radical truth is that Jesus wasn't making a special claim unique to himself alone. This was never meant to be an exclusive revelation that applied only to Jesus as a singular spiritual figure. Rather, he was unveiling the universal truth about every human being's relationship with divine source. The revolutionary impact of this understanding is that this oneness is not something you need to achieve through decades of spiritual practice, meditation, or religious devotion. It's not a distant goal to be reached after years of effort. This oneness is the very foundation of your existence, already complete, already whole, already perfect. When Jesus declared, "I am the light," he was inviting us to recognize what he had recognized, that divine light isn't something separate from us that we need to connect with, but rather our very essence and true identity. Behind the scenes of our daily human experience lies this profound reality that most spiritual seekers miss entirely. We've been conditioned to view spirituality as a path towards something, a journey of becoming, when in fact it's a process of unveiling what already is. Let's explore this truth more deeply through the ocean and wave metaphor we touched on earlier. Imagine the vast ocean with its countless waves rising and falling on its surface. A wave is not separate from the ocean, desperately trying to become oceanic in nature. It doesn't need to strive or struggle to connect with the ocean. The wave already is ocean, temporarily expressing in wave form. Its entire existence, its substance, its power, all of it comes from the ocean itself. The wave's very being is oceanic in nature. In the same way, you are not a human being trying to reach divine light. You are that light temporarily expressing in human form. Your entire being, your consciousness, your life force, your creativity, all of it stems from the divine source expressing itself through your unique human form. This ocean metaphor isn't merely a beautiful analogy or poetic device. It's a profound revelation about the nature of reality itself and your place within it. When you truly grasp this understanding, it dissolves the root cause of all human suffering, which is the belief in separation. The primary source of our pain, our anxiety, our sense of lack and limitation all stem from this single misperception that we are somehow separate from our divine source. The journey of spiritual awakening is the progressive recognition that this separation has never actually existed except in our perception. The decisions we make from this place of oneness create entirely different results than those made from a consciousness of separation. When you recognize yourself as divine light expressing in human form, you naturally align with the flow of life rather than struggling against it. If this ocean metaphor has given you a new perspective on your relationship with the divine, type "I am not the wave, I am the ocean" in the comments. The greatest mystical teachers throughout history have revealed something profoundly transformative about this understanding of our divine nature as light. They discovered that when you truly grasp your oneness with divine light, you dissolve the fundamental root cause of all human suffering, the belief in separation. This isn't just philosophical theory, it's a practical revelation with immediate impact on your daily experience. Think about this insight for a moment. The primary source of our pain, our anxiety, our sense of lack and limitation, all of these stem from this single misperception that we are somehow separate from our divine source. When you believe yourself to be cut off from divine light, you naturally experience fear, inadequacy, and a persistent feeling that something essential is missing from your life. This mindset creates an underlying current of suffering that colors every experience. But the revolutionary journey begins when you start questioning this assumption of separation. What if this perceived gap between you and divine light has never actually existed? What if, as Jesus proclaimed, you are that very light expressing in human form? The profound revelation is that suffering doesn't need to be healed or fixed. It simply dissolves when the illusion that created it is recognized for what it is. Now, let me show you how this understanding completely transforms something as fundamental as prayer. Consider the stark contrast between two approaches to connecting with the divine. A person who perceives divine light as distant and separate naturally prays from that mindset. Please God, help me with this problem. Please fix this situation. Please give me strength. Their entire approach stems from a consciousness of separation, lack, and dependency on an external power that may or may not respond. But someone who has awakened to the truth that Jesus revealed when he said, "I am the light," experiences prayer in an entirely different way. Their prayer isn't about begging an external deity for intervention or trying to convince divine power to take action in their life. It's about recognizing and acknowledging what's already present. The essence of their prayer becomes, "Divine light is here now, expressing as my true nature. I acknowledge this presence that has never been absent." Subscribe now to continue this journey of spiritual awakening as we explore what it truly means to live from the understanding that you are divine light expressing in human form. This shift in consciousness creates a radical transformation in your spiritual practice. Prayer evolves from a desperate plea to a powerful recognition. It becomes less about asking and more about acknowledging what already is. This mindset shift doesn't just change your words, it alters the entire energy and effectiveness of your spiritual connection. Behind the scenes of this transformation is a complete recalibration of how you relate to the divine. Instead of viewing yourself as a separate entity desperately trying to connect with God, you recognize yourself as an individualized expression of that same divine light. The boundary between you and the divine begins to dissolve, and you experience a wholeness that has actually been present all along. If you've ever experienced a moment when prayer felt less like asking and more like simply resting in an awareness of divine presence already with you, type "prayer is recognition" in the comments below. The hidden truth behind Jesus' healing ministry reveals this principle in action in a profound way. When we examine how Jesus approached healing, we discover something remarkable that most traditional religious teachings overlook. He never once begged God to intervene from some distant heaven. He never pleaded for divine assistance as though it was separate from him. Instead, he simply acknowledged and recognized the divine light already present right there in the situation. Jesus demonstrated a fundamental spiritual principle where divine light is acknowledged without obstruction. Wholeness must naturally express. This wasn't miraculous in the supernatural way we typically think about miracles. It was the natural manifestation of spiritual law working through someone who fully understood his divine identity. Behind the scenes of every healing Jesus performed was this recognition of divine presence, not as something to be called down from heaven, but as the very substance and reality of the person standing before him. He saw beyond the appearance of disease or limitation to the divine reality that was always present, but obscured by human belief in separation. When Jesus declared, "I am the light," he wasn't making a special claim about himself alone. He was demonstrating what becomes possible when anyone recognizes their true nature as divine light, expressing in human form. This revelation completely transforms how we approach healing, both for ourselves and others. The profound impact of this understanding becomes even clearer when we consider how it changes our relationship with divine resources. For your entire life, you've likely been taught to seek God's help as if you were fundamentally separated from divine light. This seeking mindset creates an endless spiritual quest, always reaching for something that seems just beyond your grasp. You're constantly searching, striving, and struggling to connect with a divine presence that feels distant and elusive. But here's the breakthrough revelation that changes everything about your spiritual journey. Divine light isn't something you need to hunt down, earn, or convince to come your way. It's your inheritance through the simple fact of relationship. Just as a child naturally inherits traits and resources from their parents without having to beg for them, you naturally have access to divine qualities through your essential connection to the source. When this understanding truly takes root in your consciousness, your entire spiritual life undergoes a remarkable transformation. It evolves from begging into recognition, from anxious effort into restful knowing, from desperate pleading into peaceful receiving. The entire energy of your spiritual practice shifts from striving to allowing, from seeking to finding what was always present. This mindset transformation doesn't happen intellectually, it happens experientially. It's not about adopting a new belief system, but about awakening to a deeper reality that was always true before you recognized it. The journey isn't about becoming something you're not, but unveiling what you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning that have created the illusion of separation. If you've ever experienced a moment when something you were desperately seeking suddenly appeared once you stopped the frantic search and simply relaxed into being, type "What I seek is seeking me" in the comments below. Let me share a powerful practice that can help anchor this recognition of your divine light nature into your daily experience. This isn't complicated or esoteric. It's remarkably simple, yet profoundly transformative. Begin by sitting quietly each morning for just 10-15 minutes. Before your day unfolds, find a comfortable position, close your eyes, and simply be present with yourself. This isn't complicated meditation requiring special techniques or years of practice. It's simply quiet recognition of what already is. The revolutionary aspect of this practice is that you don't ask God for anything during this time. You don't plead, you don't petition, you don't bargain. Instead, you simply acknowledge the truth. I am divine light expressing right now. My breath, my consciousness, my very being in this moment is divine light shining. Feel the reality of this statement beyond the words themselves. Experience it as the fundamental truth of your existence. As thoughts of problems, concerns, or limitations naturally arise, and they will, don't fight them or try to suppress them. Resistance only gives them more power. Instead, gently return to recognition. Divine presence is my true nature. Whatever appears as challenge or lack in my human experience, the divine reality of wholeness and abundance is present now as the truth of my being. This practice isn't about creating something new, it's about recognizing what already is. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation by exploring what it means to live from cause rather than effect. Most of us have been conditioned to live from effect, constantly reacting to the appearances, circumstances, and conditions of our outer world. But the transformational journey begins when we learn to live from cause, from the recognition that our nature as divine light is the invisible reality behind all visible forms and circumstances in our lives. In essence, this means training yourself to recognize that your nature as divine light is the invisible reality behind all visible forms and circumstances in your life. When you look at your bank account, practice seeing beyond the numbers which are just effects to the infinite light that is your true source, which is cause. When facing a health challenge, see beyond the physical appearance to the divine light that animates every cell of your body. This isn't denial of human reality or magical thinking. It's recognition of a deeper dimension that is equally real, but usually overlooked in our materialistic world. This perspective revolutionizes how you respond to circumstances. Instead of constantly reacting to effects, the visible conditions and circumstances that appear in your life, you learn to live from consciousness of cause, the divine reality that precedes and produces those outer conditions. This journey shifts you from being a victim of circumstances to being consciously aligned with the creative principle that shapes reality itself. If you've practiced living from cause rather than effect and experienced how it shifts your relationship with challenging circumstances, write, "I choose to live from cause," in the comments below. Living from the recognition of your divine nature creates a profound shift in your entire spiritual experience. As we begin to embody this understanding that Jesus revealed when he said, "I am the light," something remarkable happens in the landscape of our inner journey. The spiritual path that once felt like an exhausting uphill battle, filled with striving, effort, and constant seeking, transforms into a natural unfolding of your divine nature. Think about how different this approach is from conventional spirituality. Most spiritual traditions position enlightenment or divine connection as something difficult to attain, requiring years of discipline, sacrifice, and struggle. But the revelation that Jesus offered turns this paradigm completely upside down. When you recognize that divine light is your original nature, not something distant you need to reach, the entire journey shifts from efforting into allowing. You begin to experience life not as a separate human entity struggling to connect with divinity, but as divine light, temporarily having a human experience. This subtle but profound shift in perception changes everything about how you move through the world. Your decisions flow from a completely different source, not from the desperate need to get something you lack, but from the overflow of what you already possess in your divine nature. The breakthrough moment comes when you realize that divine qualities aren't something you need to acquire through spiritual practice or religious devotion. Peace isn't something distant that you must struggle to attain. It's your inheritance, your natural state as divine expression. Wisdom isn't something you fundamentally lack that must be painfully accumulated. It's your birthright, flowing naturally from your divine nature. The same applies to every divine quality: abundance, joy, love, creativity, and strength. This perspective creates a complete mindset revolution in your spiritual journey. When this realization becomes your living consciousness rather than just an intellectual concept, you stop operating from fear-based decisions, and begin living from divine assurance. Your actions flow from a completely different source, not from separation consciousness, but from the recognition of your oneness with divine light. The transformation doesn't make life perfect or problem-free, but it fundamentally changes how you experience those challenges. You approach them from a completely different level of consciousness, from recognition of wholeness rather than from a sense of separation and lack. And this makes all the difference in your daily experience of reality. I share these teachings about the true meaning of I am the light because I've witnessed their transformative power both in my own life and in the lives of countless others who have embraced this understanding. This isn't abstract philosophy, it's practical spirituality that radically shifts how we experience our relationship with the divine and with life itself. The journey of awakening to your true nature as divine light is both universal and deeply personal. Each person's path of recognition unfolds in its own unique way, yet the fundamental revelation remains the same. You are not separate from divine light, desperately seeking connection. You are that very light expressing in human form here and now. If you've experienced even a glimpse of what it means to live from the recognition of your divine nature rather than from separation consciousness, type, "The light I've been seeking is what I am," in the comments below. As we draw this exploration to a close, I'm struck by how profound yet simple this revelation truly is. What Jesus meant when he said, "I am the light," isn't some complex theological doctrine. It's a direct pointer to the truth of who you really are beneath all the layers of conditioning. This understanding doesn't require years of study or spiritual practice. It simply asks us to recognize what has always been true. I share these insights because I've witnessed how transformative they can be when fully embraced. The moment you begin to recognize yourself as divine light expressing in human form, rather than a human desperately seeking divine connection, everything shifts. Your prayers become more powerful, your challenges become opportunities for growth, and the spiritual journey transforms from struggle into natural unfolding. If you've resonated with this message today, if something within you recognized its truth beyond the intellectual understanding of the words themselves, I'd love for you to join our community of spiritual explorers. Subscribe to continue this journey of awakening as we explore these profound truths together. Each week, we delve into these life-changing revelations that liberate us from limitation and unveil our divine nature. If this message found its way to your heart today, simply comment, "The light has always been within me," so I know this resonated with you. And if you found value in these insights, that gentle tap on the like button helps others discover these transformative teachings who might be seeking exactly this understanding right now. There's a video right here that takes this understanding even deeper, exploring how to apply this divine recognition in healing work. Click and continue with me there as we uncover more of what it means to live from the consciousness that I am the light.